I heard you mention it, but I want to just talk about it a little bit more when you said that sometimes you have to test the market. So one of the things when we're in a lower price point is that you take every listing. So I know that, or I'm going to say this, I'm going to assume that sometimes taking the listing in luxury is not a $10,000 difference when you're only, you're priced $10,000 or $20,000 too high. So when you have a seller that is unrealistic with their price,
that never happens.
I'm sure. How do you handle that scenario?
Number one, I'm happy to take an overpriced listing if the motivation is there. So a lot of times we're dealing with several siblings or heirs, like 3 to 4 or 5 heirs sometimes, and typically 1 or 2 of them just doesn't get it. And so it's like a fine wine. The listing has to come into its own. And so, but if the motivation's there, we'll do it. Because quite frankly, you can list a home at the right price in any price range. If the motivation's not there and you bring a full price offer and they say,
yep,
that happens. So really it comes down to what's their motivation. I have a great, well, I'm sure you know this question too. The number one question to test motivation of a seller is, what are you going to do when the property sells? And if they cannot answer that question, that's a sign of low motivation. I know though, when there's 3 to 5 heirs or 2 to 5 heirs to a property, the motivation is the fact that, they can't afford the $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 a year in property taxes we have here for a vacation home, and they need to get it gone. So
when you take that, how do you test the market with them, or do you use that tactic with them of testing the market? Okay, so you want to list it $1 million higher than what your price per square footage and condition and everything calls for. How are you testing the market with them with that? Or is that something that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, as part of our listing presentation, we tell them we are going to test the market. And today we can test the market like we never could before. Number one, we look at the web stats. My experience tells me that for every 1,000 views online, combined views, 1,000, I should have one person physically through the door. So we tell them that when we're signing the listing agreement. If we see Realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, add them all together. If we have 5,000 views in the month of February, we should have 5 people through the door. If we don't have that, that is the market rejecting our value proposition. So we want them ready for that. We also, we all have our feelings about Zillow, but the one thing we use Zillow. And I have Fortune 500 CEOs who are looking at Zillow. It makes me crazy. But what we really look for on Zillow is how many people saved it to their shopping cart. So when I see a home for $4 million, it really should be $3 million. Sometimes I'll see 47 saves. That's a lot of saves. And I'll explain to the seller, why do you think people save a listing to their shopping cart? Well, yeah, they want to know if something changes. What could possibly change? Not going to be the view. It's not going to be the acreage. It's not going to be the condition, the square footage. I'll bet it's the price. They're waiting for something. That's 47 people telling us that they're not going to come and see it because they don't think it's in the zone yet, pricing zone. So we use stats from the web. It's very critically important to explain that to a seller when you're signing the contract, because if you bring it up 30, 60, 90 days into the listing, they think you're making up rules of the game as the game progresses.
That's awesome. I love that.
I like that one. Yeah,
I do too.
That'll work in any price range.
Jack, we're running out of time.
We treat everyone like $1 million regardless of the price point.
Say that again.
This all works in every price point. We treat everyone like $1 million regardless of their price point.